Hi, my name's Marie Chudilisa, and I'm your librarian here at Pacific Oaks. Today I'm going to go over the basics of APA 7 formatting. We will cover what that is. I'm going to show you some APA resources. We will talk about paper formatting, primary versus secondary sources, heading levels, in-text citations, the reference section, reference citations, and we will explain what digital object identifiers are and how they're formatted. AP Style is an author date citation system. It includes two types of citations, in-text citations and their corresponding reference citations. So here we see an example of the pair. The in-text citation, Burgess 2019, its corresponding reference citation. This is for a book, and this would go in your reference section. They always go together in sets of two. Why do we use it? It's most frequently used in the social and behavioral sciences. That's mostly what we teach here, so we use APA style. We use it to respect the work that we're using, and it actually keeps your writing free from accidental plagiarism. So cite every source you use, you'll never have that problem. So we have a lot of APA resources on the library website, which I'm going to show you. From the library homepage, you can access the APA 7 help pages here. We have a lot of different materials. Here you can download an undergraduate student paper template. Here is the graduate student paper template. Other than these things, I want to show you this tab, Citing Different Materials. We've arranged these different materials by type. If we look at books, you can see that we include what elements are needed in a reference citation for a book. Here we show you what order they go in and how they're formatted. So are they italicized? Do they use a period? And then we give you multiple examples. So here's a book with one author. Here's a book with editors, a chapter in an edited book, a reprinted book, and the examples go on and on. Same thing for articles. Here are the elements, the order and formatting of those elements, and then multiple examples of every kind of article, from an electronic journal article with a DOI, which is what you're going to be using most commonly, to an online newspaper article, to a web page from a news website. So any sort of article, you can find out how to format here. The other section I want to highlight is in-text citations. So any kind of in-text citation will be here. I'm going to point out paraphrasing, which is what you should be doing the majority of the time. So here we have examples of narrative versus parenthetical in-text citations, and then what to do in different occasions, like when to use et al. That would be in this table. Also verb tense and reporting verbs. We give example of the tenses that you should use when you're writing about articles you've read. That would be either the past tense or the present perfect. So Berry 2022 and Gimmel et al. 2020 discovered, or present perfect, you would say researchers have discovered, and then we have Berry and Gimmel here at the end. This includes reporting verbs. So these are all the verbs that you can use after the author's name to explain what their idea was. So if you find yourself getting stuck or using the same verb over and over, you can come here and just get a fresh take. On the library homepage, you can also make an appointment to meet with me one-on-one, and we can review your APA formatting and see how you're doing. I also meet with students to do one-on-one database search tutorials. So both of those appointments can be made at this link. So formatting your paper. General formatting requires that we use 1-inch margins and our paragraphs are indented a 1/2 inch. We use 12-point Times New Roman typeface for everything. All text is double-spaced and flush left. We use 1 space after punctuation, so that's 1 space between sentences, not 2, and the Oxford comma, which is this one, the one that comes before the second to the last and the last items in a sentence of a list. These are the undergrad and graduate student title pages. Those are available from the APA 7 help pages where I showed you the downloads. So this is graduate student. You can see it has a running head and it's formatted slightly differently. And this is the undergrad, no running head for undergrad students. The body of your paper begins on a new page and the title is repeated at the top of the first page. It's centered and bolded and it uses title case. You're going to use header levels as needed throughout your paper. I'm going to explain those in a minute. And then use in-text citations for every idea or fact taken from a source. So this is an undergrad first page. You can see the numbering continues from the title page. The title is repeated. It's bold, centered, and uses title case, meaning all the major words are capitalized. 1-inch margins, everything's double spaced with no extra space between paragraphs. Paragraphs are indented a 1/2 inch, and we have in-text citations throughout. The graduate title page would be exactly the same, but you'd have a running head here. A running head is a shortened version of your title, so it would be shortened to 50 characters or less, and it goes in all caps. Okay, primary versus secondary sources. APA defines them as a primary source reports original content, a secondary source refers to content first reported in another source. So if you're reading an article by Jones and Jones cites Smith, and you really like that Smith fact, go find the Smith article, get it from the original source. We don't want it filtered through other sources. The library can help you find it if you're having trouble, and we're happy to do that. Just reach out. Heading levels. APA uses 5 heading levels to separate your papers into sections and subsections. And here you can see them numbered 1 through 5. They're all bold. They all use title case, but then they vary in position and formatting after that. I'm going to show you an example here. So these use levels 1 through 5. The title of your paper is a de facto level 1. That's the big idea, right? So this is theories of infant toddler development. Level 2 is a subsection of this, level 1. So this is relevant theories of infant toddler development. So we're talking about a few select theories, right? Not every theory. 3 is a subsection of 2. So under relevant theories, we're talking about Bowlby and Ainsworth's attachment theory. So now we're going to level 4, which is a subsection of 3, and we're talking about emphasized features of this theory, of attachment theory. And then we've gone all the way to level 5, and we're talking about each emphasized feature. And now we're going back to 3, another subsection of 2, relevant theories. This is Piaget and infant toddler cognitive development. And then we're going to another level 3, so that's another subsection of 2, relevant theories. That's Erikson and infant toddler social emotional development. So in most papers, especially undergrad, you're using 1 and 2. So your big idea and then the subsections. But as you do more advanced writing, you might go to level 5. You'll certainly get to level 3. If you have trouble with heading levels, get in touch with the library. We can work with you to get them correct. Okay, in-text citations. They go together. Here is a narrative in-text citation, and here's its corresponding reference citation. This is for a journal article. When and how to use et al. When you have 3 or more authors, you list the first author only and then use et al. Et space al period. That's Latin for and others, so we're just telling the reader we're not going to list all the authors in the paper. Go to the reference section if you want to see who else wrote this article. You should be paraphrasing the majority of the time. Direct quotes are used for very specific things. So these are 2 paraphrased in-text citations and in 2 styles, narrative and parenthetical. They're saying exactly the same thing. Here we have Jones and Gomez, 2015, emphasize only experience must be discussed in the exercise, not opinion. And then here we say experience rather than opinion must be discussed in the exercise, and then Jones and Gomez, 2015. So you'll see here that the authors are part of the narrative, they're part of the sentence, so it's a narrative citation. Here they're in parentheses, so it's a parenthetical in-text citation. These can be used interchangeably throughout your paper. It's nice to go kind of back and forth so you're not always doing the exact same format. One thing I do want to point out is that when we have 2 authors, we spell the word and out when they're part of the sentence, when it's a narrative citation, and we use an ampersand when they are being used in a parenthetical in-text citation. Sometimes you'll have multiple sources. They might all be supporting the same idea. A bunch of experts are all saying this one thing is true. Or you might be synthesizing, so bringing together different ideas from different authors to come to a conclusion of your own. When you have multiple authors, you separate the sets of authors with semicolons, and you put them in alphabetical order. When you do use direct quotes, as I said, that should be for specific reasons. So if it's a definition, for example, a medical diagnosis, if it is a law you're discussing in your paper, you might want to reprint the relevant section of the law in the exact words. These are cases where the exact wording matters, but generally paraphrase other than that. So here, if you have a paginated material like a journal article or a book, anything with page numbers, you would cite the page number, P period space, and then the number of the page. If it's a web page, it doesn't have page numbers, so we count paragraphs, and that's P-A-R-A period space and the paragraph number. And if it is a audiovisual material like a podcast or streaming video, we use the timestamp. Moving on to the reference section. Your reference section begins on a new page. The word references is centered and bolded at the top. We double space all reference citations with no extra space in between them, and we use hanging indents. That means the first line is flush left and subsequent lines are indented a ½ inch. And that looks like this. Again, a graduate paper would have a running head up here. Otherwise, it would be exactly the same. So references is bold and centered. These go in alphabetical order. These are the hanging indents. It makes it very easy to see where the next citation begins. So now let's cover the most commonly used reference citations. Journal articles. They have 8 elements. So first, author, last name, comma, initials. The initials have space between them. The year goes in parentheses. It's followed by a period. Then we have the title of the article. That goes in sentence case, meaning only the first word is capitalized. The first word of the subtitle is also capitalized. Period. Then we have the title of the journal. That goes in italics and title case, excuse me. So the major words are capitalized, comma, volume number, also in italics, issue number in parentheses, no space between these two, comma, page range. And then we have our DOI. Books have 4 elements. Author last name, initial, the year in parentheses again, followed by a period. Then we have the title of the book that goes in italics and in sentence case. So the title is capitalized and the subtitle is capitalized. And this happens to be an addition other than the first. So we indicate it this way. And then we have the name of the publisher and a period. So web pages don't follow formulas as well as journal articles and books. So we're going to go over 2 scenarios. The first one is when we have authors listed. So we list the author's last name, comma, initials. Then we have the date. So we put as much date as is available. So if we have the year, month, and day, we put the whole thing. If we have the year and month only, we put that, or if we only have the year. Then we have the title of the web page. That goes in italics and sentence case. Anything that is a proper noun remains capitalized. So Latinos for National Hispanic Heritage Month is a proper noun. Then we have the title of the site. So this is the Pew Research Center. That's the website where this web page is. And then we have a direct link that goes to this page. But frequently, web pages don't have authors or a date, and that, I would say, happens the majority of the time. So when that happens, we move the site name from behind the title to the author position, and that becomes the author. So in this case, the Library of Congress is responsible for this, the text that is on this web page. To indicate that there is no date, we use N period D period, that stands for no date. This would also go in your in-text citation instead of the year. This is really, really common on websites that there's no date, and you'll find a copyright date usually at the bottom of the page, but that is not the publication date, so don't use it. Just use N period D period. Then we have the title of the web page that goes in italics and sentence case, and then we have a direct link to the web page. Link shorteners can be used. Sometimes you get a really gigantic link and it's taking up a lot of space. You can go to commonly used link shortener like bit.ly or tinyurl and drop in your long link and get a short one. That's pretty handy when you have like a 5-line URL. I want to talk about citation generators. They're a great way to gather all the information you need quickly, but they are not reliable. So you need to know enough APA to check and make sure they're correct. So here are 2 examples. One is from OneSearch, which is our search interface that searches all our databases. And one is from Google Scholar. They're for the same article and they both have errors. In this one from OneSearch, you can see the title of the article is in title case, and it should be in sentence case. In this one from Google Scholar, we're missing the DOI and our subtitle is not capitalized. So they're small errors, but they're errors. Okay, last thing we're going to cover is digital object identifiers. If you remember in your journal article reference citation, there was a DOI at the end, like this. They're an important element of your journal article reference citations, and also sometimes ebooks. So they are unique to an article or an electronic item. They always start with a 10 followed by a decimal point. They're preferable to URLs because they don't break the way URLs do. However, if there is no DOI, do use a URL link. And this is how they're formatted. So when you see the DOI kind of out there on the web somewhere, frequently it'll have other things in front of it. This is what you want to put in front of your DOI. So here's our DOI, always starts with a 10 and a decimal point. This is what goes in front of it so that it looks like this at the end of your reference citation for a journal article or an ebook. So that is my APA 7 overview. Please get in touch with the library. If you ever have any questions about APA formatting, you can send an email, you can set up a meeting. We're here to help you. Thank you.